Chapter 1. Segment 1. 10-min read. The first sun lamp of the Microtech day cycle clicked on at 0500 sharp, painting Fort Peterson's hangar bays a cold glacier blue. Inside Bay 12, Lorraine Jeffets, Senior Warrant Officer, Starcraft Power Plant Division, was already half inside the gutted belly of the 1985 RSI Columbia shuttle. Grease freckled her cheeks like reverse constellations. A mag wrench dangled from her wrist on a retractable lanyard. "Okay, people," she called to her 5-person crew. "Today we coax a 30-year-old fuel slug to stop leaking like a drunk sailor. We do it by 1600, the museum gets a pretty bird. We don't, the colonel parks me on KP for a month." Questions? None. They loved her too much to give her any. 3 corridors away, in family quarters block C4, baby Bookworm. Official dependent ID, Jeffets, Lorraine Minor, age 1, blinked awake. The wall monitor showed Mama's face in a looping goodnight hologram, but the bunk was empty. Bookworm knew the drill. Mama left before dawn equals big important day equals permission granted to do adult things. He rolled out of his cot, feet thudding on the cold deck. Diaper? Optional. Pants? Overrated. Sandwich? Mandatory. Bread, synth butter, 2 slices of genetically square tomatoes, a piece of cheese that could survive re-entry, stacked in teetering layers. He mashed the top slice flat, bit a crescent out of the side, then strutted to the closet. Mama's spare tool belt hung like a leather python. He wormed into it, buckle clanking at his knees. On his head, a paper party hat from last week's squadron picnic, colored orange and black like a tiger, close enough to a hard hat for government work. He saluted the mirror. Mission: help Mama. Objective: everything. The door sensor chirped as he toddled out, diaper left behind like a surrender flag. Outside, frost glittered on the patio grate. Nurse Debbie, civilian contractor, morning shift, stepped out with a mug of chicory. One glance at the abandoned padding and she smacked her forehead. Here we go again. But Bookworm was already gone, marching toward the hangars, sandwich dripping in his fist, leaving perfect baby toe prints in the rime. Segment 2. Hangar alley stretched forever when your legs were 12 inches long. Bookworm paused at a utility locker, attracted by the shiny red emergency button. He poked it. Nothing happened. The alarm required a key. Undeterred, he opened the lower hatch and discovered a janitor cart. "Adulting tool," he declared. He confiscated 3 items: a half-full mop bucket with gray water, a magnetic trash can lid shaped like a Saturn ring, a roll of reflective hazard tape that stuck to anything, including itself. He shoved the sandwich into a cup holder, parked the bucket on the lid like a sled, and kicked off. The makeshift raft glided down the gentle slope of the corridor, wheels squeaking. Goal: deliver cleaning supplies to Mama. Reality: the lid spun, water sloshed, and the hazard tape unrolled like a New Year's streamer, gluing itself to vents, door seams, and a passing Marine's boot. The Marine pirouetted, cursing, while Bookworm waved. "You're welcome." At intersection D9, he spotted a row of gray trash bins, standard military self-sealing lids. One had a dent. Bookworm squinted. Inefficient, he judged. He dismounted, flipped the lid, and dunked the remaining sandwich inside to weigh things down. Then he taped the mop handle to the side like an outrigger. "Now you can roll and mop," he explained to the bin. "Dual purpose, very adult." He kicked the bin to test it. The lid snapped shut on the mop, jerking the handle upright. The bin hopped once, twice, then lurched forward like a drunk droid, trailing sandwich guts. It ricocheted off a bulkhead, activated its internal compactor, and fired a compressed cube of tomato-splattered trash straight into the air vent grate. Clunk. Whir. Somewhere inside the duct, fans began to the labor. Bookworm clapped. Fixed. He left the scene, tool belt clacking, in search of greater challenges. Behind him, crew specialist Reena Patel rounded the corner, tablet in hand. She stared at the wet floor, the wandering mop, the dented bin still hopping. She sighed, keyed in. D9, trash compactor malfunction, possible hydraulic imbalance. Schedule for 1000 inspection. Segment 3. Bay 12 smelled of ozone and vintage hyperfuel. Lorraine's team had the Columbia's starboard nacelle cracked open like a dinosaur ribcage. She was elbow-deep in a tangle of pre-oxygenation lines when Chief Tyndall jogged up. "Got a weird one, ma'am. Environmental reports negative pressure in corridor D9. Might be a duct blockage." Lorraine wiped her brow, leaving a comet of grease. "Of course there is. Send Reena with a snake cam. And tell Supply we need more coffee." She turned back to the shuttle, unaware that the blockage was currently digesting synth cheese. Across the hangar, a small figure in an oversized tool belt peeked around a stack of ordnance crates. Bookworm had arrived at the promised land. Rows of fighters, the smell of adventure, and glory of glories, a floor dotted with shiny discarded fasteners. "Treasure," he whispered. He began collecting every bolt, nut, and washer, dropping them into his pockets until the belt sagged to his ankles. Clank, clank, music to his ears. When the pockets overflowed, he spotted a nearby access panel labeled Fuel Line Purge, Do Not Open. It had a convenient slot, perfect for depositing shiny things. He fed a handful of washers inside. They clattered down the pipe like coins into a wishing well. "Investment," he told the panel. Unseen inside the purge line, the washers lodged against a soft seal valve, just as the automated pre-fire sequence for Bay 12's test burner began its 3-minute countdown. Bookworm toddled on. Segment 4, Nurse Debbie had mobilized. She jogged through the corridors with a portable tracker tuned to the RFID tag sewn into Bookworm's abandoned sleeper. Signaled, placed him somewhere inside the flight line. She keyed her comm. "This is Debbie C4. I need a sweep team. Dependent minor, age 1, mobile, possibly armed with hand tools." The duty desk replied, "Copy. Dispatching SPs. Recommend you notify the parent." Debbie winced. "Negative? Let's retrieve first. Notify second. Jeffitts has a critical path today." She hustled on. Back in Bay 12, Lorraine slid out from under the Columbia just as the purge line warning klaxon chirped. Yellow strobe spun overhead, the burner sequence aborted automatically. Tyndall reappeared, face pale. "We've got foreign debris in the fuel purge. Scanner reads ferrous slugs, looks like somebody dumped hardware in the line." Lorraine's jaw tightened. "Lock the bay. No one in or out until we find the slugger." Bookworm, 3 meters away, chose that moment to stand on a tow bar and wave. "Hi, Mama." Every helmet in the bay turned. Lorraine's eyes flicked from the toddler to the open access panel to the flashing yellow lights. 1 beat. 2. She exhaled through her nose, then spoke in the same calm tone she used on misbehaving thrusters. "Bookworm baby, stay right there. Do not touch anything shiny." Bookworm grinned, produced one last washer from his pocket, and, before half the hangar could shout, dropped it straight down a floor drain. Plink. He raised his arms like a magician. "All better." Lorraine closed her eyes. Somewhere in the distance, she could already hear the colonel's voice scheduling her for extra duty. "Next," she muttered. And the day was still young. Segment 5, 10-min read. The drain swallowed the washer and gurgled, an ominous gulp that echoed through grated decking. Lorraine vaulted the tow bar, scooped Bookworm mid-wiggle, and planted him on her hip in one fluid motion born of zero-G fire drills. "Hi, adult," he greeted proudly, tapping her nose with a greasy finger. "Hi, Chaos," she answered. Over his tiger party hat she locked eyes with Tyndall. "Get a bore scope on that drain line. If the washer made it to the reclamation tank, we can fish it out before it hits the pumps, and somebody kill the burner countdown until we're green." A chorus of "Aye, ma'am" scattered the crew. Bookworm felt the rumble of bootsteps and equipment. Glorious music. He pointed at the Columbia's open nacelle. "I fix." "Negative, pilot," Lorraine said, already walking him toward the tool cage. "Your new station is Quiet Corner." Quiet Corner was a yellow square of deck plating stenciled in toddler-high letters. "Dependent Safe Zone. Contains no sharp objects or egos." Inside sat a padded crate, a stack of plastic turbine blades, and a single glowing tablet loaded with interactive diagrams. Lorraine set him down. "Stay in the box. If you leave the box, Mama's day gets longer. Longer day equals no story time tonight. Copy?" Bookworm saluted with mustard on his knuckles. "Copy, Mama." She jogged back to the shuttle, tiger hat still dangling from her belt like a trophy. Inside the box, Bookworm spun a turbine blade like a propeller. After 30 seconds, he decided Quiet Corner was insufficiently adult. He stood, peered over the edge, and discovered a floor jack handle leaning just outside the line. "Tool needs me," he whispered. He stretched, fingertips grazing the metal. Almost. Segment 6, Nurse Debbie arrived at Bay 12 security gate just as 2 SPs, Space Patrol, military police, caught up. The senior SP, Corporal Shu, scanned her credentials. "Dependent inside, somewhere," Debbie puffed, "and probably redesigning the propulsion grid while we talk." They entered to find Lorraine shoulder deep in an access panel. Voice muffled. If I find one more washer in here, I swear I'll start billing the dependent fund. Debbie waved. I'll extract him. You keep the universe from exploding. Lorraine didn't look up. Appreciated. Debbie crossed the deck, spotted the yellow box, and stopped. The box was empty. A single turbine blade spun on the deck like a lonely compass needle. She keyed her wrist comm. Debbie to SP, he's mobile again. Sweet pattern, Charlie. Bookworm, meanwhile, had dragged the jack handle back to the corridor. He'd also acquired a roll of carbon fiber safety stickers he'd peeled from a bulkhead. He believed stickers made everything work better, like spinach for machines. Present target, an unmanned floor polisher droid parked near the mess hall entrance. The droid was cylindrical, low and humming in standby. Bookworm patted its dome. You're pretty. You need pretty stickers. He slapped hazard stripes across the sensor array until the droid went cross-eyed. Its navigation algorithm interpreted the new patterns as cliff edges. It began reversing in tight circles, polishing the same half-meter of deck to mirror brightness. Bookworm climbed aboard, used the jack handle as a mast, and hoisted his tiger hat like a pennant. Ship, he declared. The droid spun harder. Centrifugal force flung the jack handle outward. It clipped a fire suppression handle. Whoosh! Sealing nozzles dumped white foam across the corridor. Bookworm squealed with delight, half surfboard, half snow globe. 2 corridors away, Specialist Patel glanced up from her tablet. Pressure sensors registered an unexpected deluge in Mess Corridor B. She added another line. B7. Fire suppressed triggered, cause unknown. Requires sanitation crew. She looked at the growing list and muttered, this base is falling apart faster than we can catalog it. Segment 7. Foam tsunami carried Bookworm and his steed 30 meters before the droid finally wedged against a bulkhead and powered down. He slid off, soaked but thrilled, and spotted a new fascination. A maintenance hatch labeled Sub-Level Access, Robotic Cargo Lift. The hatch was ajar to allow a pallet of coolant drums to ascend. Inside, a freight platform the size of a dinner table waited, gate open, controls blinking green in automated mode. Bookworm interpreted green as invitation. He toddled aboard, dragged the jack handle with him, and slapped the large glowing button marked Descend. The gate closed. The platform lurched, descending into the mechanical underworld of Fort Peterson. Pipes hissed, lights strobed past, and cool air rushed up the shaft like breath from a giant. He giggled, hair plastered to his forehead with foam. Downstairs, at deck -4, the lift stopped automatically, gates sliding open to reveal a cavernous service tunnel lit amber. Conduit ran along the walls like petrified pythons. Signage warned anti-grav generator, authorized personnel only. Bookworm recognized the word grav. Mama talked about grav all the time. Check the grav harmonics, balance the grav plates. If he fixed grav, Mama could come home early. He wandered until he found a wall panel labeled Grav Plate Calibration, Micro Adjust 0.01 gravs. It had a small rotary dial protected by a wire seal. Wire looked flimsy. Jack handles were strong. One prod snapped the seal. He grasped the dial with both hands and twisted right, then left, then right again, fascinated by the smooth clicks. Somewhere above in the officer's mess, coffee mugs began to slide. A major in flight suit felt her boots grow heavy, then light, then heavy. Pens floated, clattered, floated again. A technician at a wall station watched gravity readouts swing from 0.9 grind to 1.4 grams and back. Control, this is G station -4. We've got oscillations. Manual override at source, sending SP. Bookworm heard echoing voices, boots on ladder rungs. He let go of the dial, which spun freely now like a broken compass. Satisfied, he turned to leave, only to realize the lift had returned topside automatically. Gate closed. Lights red. He was alone in the half-dark, clutching a jack handle and a paper hat. Segment 8. Back in Bay 12. Lorraine wiped her hands and reviewed the damage log scrolling across the wall monitor. D9 vent blockage cleared, sandwich residue removed. B7 fire suppressed discharge, cleanup in progress. G station, -4 gravity oscillations, technician en route. Unidentified toddler relocating hardware district-wide bow. She pinched the bridge of her nose. He's a one-baby hurricane. Debbie approached, expression tight. We lost visual. Last seen heading down on a cargo lift. Lorraine's blood flash froze. Deck -4 housed not only grav generators but high-voltage bus bars and cryo-coolant manifolds. Without a word, she grabbed a respirator helmet, tossed one to Debbie, and broke into a run. The SPs followed. They pounded down emergency stairs, bypassing the lift in case Bookworm rode it again. Lorraine's mind ticked through contingencies. Lock down power zones, vent pressure, flood the tunnel with inert gas. Every option risked scaring or suffocating a baby. At -4, she keyed the bulkhead hatch. Amber lights painted the tunnel. 20 meters away, a small figure sat cross-legged, happily stacking washers into a wobbling tower. Gravity had stabilized at 1.0 gra again thanks to the auto loop, but the dial still clicked under his curious fingers. Lorraine exhaled so hard her helmet fogged. She walked forward slowly, boots ringing on the deck. Bookworm looked up, eyes sparkling. "Mama, I fixed Grav." She knelt, gathered him into her arms, and felt his heart hammering against her own. "Yeah, baby, you sure did make it interesting." Behind her, Debbie whispered to the SPs, "Let's secure the zone before he redecorates the fusion bottles." Lorraine stood cradling 40 pounds of chaos. Over her shoulder she addressed the corporal. "Log it. All -4 access panels retrofitted with toddler-proof locks by end of watch. Requisition approved by Senior Warrant Jeffets." "Ma'am," Shu acknowledged, biting back a smile. Bookworm yawned, foam-crusted and victorious. "I adult good?" Lorraine kissed his sour-smelling hair. "You adult too good. Let's go home before you break physics." As they walked toward the stairwell, she murmured, "Next time we stay in the box, deal?" He nestled against her neck. "Deal, maybe." Above them, klaxons quieted one by one, and Fort Peterson limped back toward normal, until the next adventure of baby Bookworm, professional adult. Chapter 2, Segment 1, 10 Min read. 2 cycles of sleep and shift later, Fort Peterson's clocks rolled to 4:30. Lorraine's quarters were dark, except for the soft aurora of Microtech's pre-dawn snowstorm leaking through the viewport. She moved like a ghost, flight suit half-zipped, coffee bulb in one hand, diaper bag in the other. Bookworm slept in his cot, arms flung wide, mouth open in a perfect O that whistled with each breath. A paper party hat, replacement for the one lost in the Grav tunnel, lay crumpled beside him like a fallen crown. Lorraine knelt, brushed a curl from his forehead. "Third day in a row, kid. Let's not make it a hat trick." She kissed him, shouldered her pack, and slipped out. The door had barely sealed when the cot's occupant sat bolt upright, eyes bright. He'd trained himself to wake to the whisper of the magnetic latch. Today's objective? Mama had muttered something about fuel slug polishing and museum deadline. Bookworm understood exactly 3 words: polish, shine, help. He dressed in the dark, tiny thermal undersuit, Mama's spare wrench velcroed to the ankle, and, his newest acquisition, an official Fort Peterson morale patch shaped like a smiling aurora. He pressed it onto his chest. It promptly stuck to itself and folded in half. Good enough. Diaper? He stared at it, recalled the chilly patio incident, and compromised by wearing it as a cape. Hero needed flair. Out the door, cape fluttering. Segment 2. Bay 12 never truly slept, it merely lowered its voice. Overnight crew had left the Columbia bathed in amber standby lights. The shuttle's cargo ramp yawned open like a drawbridge. Bookworm towed past a dozing guard, Specialist Diaz, whose helmet visor reflected a tiny determined figure with a diaper cape. Diaz's chin dipped. He dreamed of skiing. Inside the shuttle, the smell of antique metal and hyperfuel soap lingered. Bookworm remembered Mama's words. Slugs got a shine for the museum crowd. He found the cylindrical fuel slug housed in its midship bay, nested in a cradle of copper coils. It did not look shiny. It looked tired, like a gray sausage left in the fridge too long. He also found a bucket of polishing putty and a bundle of microfiber rags. Adult tools. Standing on a cargo crate, he dumped a rag, slapped it onto the slug and rubbed. The putty smelled of lemons and ozone. Circles, stripes, happy faces, he polished with artistic freedom. The slug began to gleam. So did the surrounding deck when he dropped the rag. It landed goop side down, and he stepped on it. Sneaker prints tracked putty across the grate, up the bulkhead, and onto the pilot's seat. Every print was a tiny star-shaped grease stain. Constellations of chaos. Bookworm shrugged. Art. He turned back to the slug, decided it needed go-faster stripes, and peeled a strip of yellow warning tape to wrap around the middle. The tape carried the words, "Do not touch, high energy." He touched it anyway. Static snapped. His diaper cape crackled and stood out like a peacock tail. He giggled, hair floating in sudden microgravity. The slug's magnetic cradle had momentarily energized. The Columbia creaked. Somewhere aft, a safety relay opened. A soft, automated voice announced, "Unscheduled field generation. Stand clear." Bookworm was already clear across the bay, chasing a floating rag that looked like a ghost. Segment 3. At 05:15 the day shift filtered in. Lorraine arrived first, coffee still hot. She noted the open ramp, the missing guard, and the constellation of footprints. Her stomach dipped faster than a hornet in a dive. She keyed the intercom. "Diaz, you alive up there?" Diaz startled, helmet clanging against the bulkhead. Yes, ma'am. All quiet." "Define quiet." She climbed the ramp and stopped. The fuel slug glowed like a golden torpedo wrapped in crime scene tape. Putty handprints covered every accessible surface. The smell of citrus hung thick enough to taste. From behind the landing strut, a small voice sang, "Polish, polish, make it fly." Lorraine counted to 5, standard atmospheric pressure in her lungs, then spoke. Bookworm, front and center. He emerged, diaper cape askew, cheeks glittering with metallic dust. He held up the putty bucket like an offering. "All shiny, mama." Before she could answer, the bay lights flickered. The slug's cradle hummed louder. A warning panel flashed. "Mag field spike, calibration lost." Chief Tyndall's voice crackled over comms. "Control, Columbia's fuel magnetics are drifting. We're bleeding flux into the deck plating." Lorraine scooped Bookworm, kicked the putty bucket aside, and sprinted down the ramp. "Clear the bay." Possible static discharge. Technicians scattered. Diaz yanked the emergency barrier across the hangar mouth. Inside, the slug pulsed, once, twice, then demagnetized with a sound like a sigh. It dropped 2 centimeters onto its restraints, safe but embarrassed. Silence. Then the base PA chimed. "Attention, Bay 12 suspend operations pending safety inspection. All hands report for accountability." Outside the barrier, Lorraine looked at her grease-smudged son. He waved tiny fingers. "Hi." She exhaled a laugh that tasted like despair and pride in equal measure. "You polished the one part you're not supposed to touch." He beamed. Adulting. Segment 4, accountability took an hour. Paperwork took 2. By 08:30, Lorraine sat in the colonel's office, Bookworm on her lap, a data pad of incident photos between them. Colonel Eng, frost-haired and sharp-eyed, scrolled through images. Golden slug, taped stripes, footprints on the cockpit dash. She expected a reprimand. Instead, Eng zoomed on the footprints. "These are star-shaped putty soul transfers," Lorraine confirmed. "Non-toxic, non-conductive. Cleanup crew says deck'll be brand new by lunch." Nome leaned back. "Museum liaison just left. They love the authentic hands-on restoration angle. Want to open the exhibit early. Public affairs is thrilled." Lorraine blinked. "You're not angry?" "Oh, I'm furious," Ng said, but a smile tugged. "I'm also practical. We spin this. Junior dependent assists in preserving history. Good optics. Bad procedure." He slid a new datapad across. "Proposal. Temporary daycare annex here on the flight line. Staffed by rotating specialists. You supervise after hours. We keep baby Bookworm contained. Media gets heartwarming footage. I get my mechanics back to real work." Bookworm patted the colonel's shiny rank insignia. "Pretty star." Nong softened entirely. "And we issue him plastic stars for good behavior. Deal?" Lorraine let out a long breath. "Deal. But I want that fuel cradle retrofitted with toddler-grade shielding by tomorrow." "Done." Outside the office, she set Bookworm down. "New rule, you polish only what Mama points at. Understood?" He saluted, diaper cape flapping. "Copy." As they walked toward the newly christened Little Raptor Day Corner, a news drone buzzed overhead, already filming the base's smallest mechanic. Lorraine muttered, "Next headline, 1-year-old promoted to honorary crew chief." Bookworm waved at the drone, then tugged her sleeve. "Mama, next project?" She ruffled his hair. "Yeah, kid, teaching you to stay inside the lines. Literally." Behind them, the Columbia gleamed under fresh lights, star prints still visible on its hide like tiny signatures of the hurricane who loved it shiny. And somewhere in the distance, a mop bucket, long since repaired, stood ready for its next adventure, unaware that a diaper-caped vigilante was already planning go-faster stripes for its handle. Segment 5. 10-min read. On 1130 hours. Little Raptor Day Corner. An unused ready room hastily carpeted with surplus flight deck mats. Bright polymer crates formed a picket fence around a plastic slide, a stack of maintenance manuals, pictures only, and one decommissioned power cell big enough to be a play rock. A sentry cam hovered in the corner, streaming to every off-duty parent who wanted to watch the cutest security breach in Stanton history. Bookworm had been inside for exactly 6 minutes. He wore a reflective safety vest cut down to baby size, back panel stenciled future crew chief. The vest had 9 pockets. He had filled them with a crayon labeled warning orange, 3 washers he'd palmed during the walkover, a sticker that read "Zero tolerance for an object debris," a granola bar he intended to use as grout. Head count: 1 toddler, 1 specialist, 1 drone cam, 0 piece. Specialist Reena Patel drew the short straw for infant overwatch. She sat cross-legged, tablet on her knee, logging every item he touched for the safety psychologists. So far the tally read: licked power cell, hugged drone, tried to calibrate slide angle with Allen key. Bookworm eyeballed the ceiling vent. It was square, shiny, and screwed shut, obviously lonely. He waddled over, stood on tiptoe, and poked the grate. It flexed. Interesting. Reena cleared her throat. "Personal space? Tiny, sir." He answered by peeling the FOD sticker and slapping it onto her knee pad. She laughed. He bolted. While her head was down, he unscrewed the granola bar, mouthed it into paste, and smeared the sticky stuff around the vent screws, an edible thread lock, toddler style. Then he pressed the washers into the paste. They stuck. Art installation complete, he trotted to the plastic slide, leaving Reena to wonder why her knee was suddenly audited for debris. Segment 6. Lunch delivery arrived. Compartmentalized trays, lids steaming. Reena set them on a low table and turned to sanitize her hands. Behind her, Bookworm flipped a tray lid. Mashed peas looked exactly like hydraulic sealant. Inspiration struck. He grabbed the warning orange crayon, jabbed it through the pea layer, and twisted. The crayon core wobbled, acting like a cheap torque wrench. Peas oozed. He scooped the mixture into his vest pocket, now a portable chem lab, and marched to the picket fence gate. The latch was a simple lift bar. Pea grout filled the recess, solidifying under the room's cool air like bad epoxy. Gate secured. From the outside. Reena turned, hands still wet. "Okay, big guy, lunchtime." She pushed the gate. Lift bar stuck. She pushed harder. "Seriously?" Bookworm waved through the slats. "Locked out for safety," he parroted, repeating words he'd heard during fuel line briefings. The overhead cam sent a motion alert to security. Day corner gate fault. Possible internal tampering. 2 SPs left their coffee. Inside the fence, Bookworm toddled to the decommissioned power cell. It weighed 40 kilos and had a recessed LED status ring that blinked amber when its charge dropped below 5%. Currently it blinked. He remembered Mama saying, "Red means stop, amber means caution, green means go." He patted the cell. "Don't worry, I make you go." From his pocket he produced the Allen key, previously confiscated, but confiscation is relative. He fitted it into the cell's manual reset port and twisted. The LED flicked to green, then to rapid rainbow strobe as the cell entered unauthorized diagnostic mode. A low whine built inside the rock. The floor mats began to vibrate. Segment 7. Reena smelled ozone. "Bookworm, step away from the cell." Her voice stayed calm, but she yanked the gate twice, snapping the pea grout. It held like brittle concrete. The power cell's strobe synced with the room's ceiling lights, throwing disco shadows. Bookworm clapped. "Party." Outside, the 2 SPs arrived. Corporal Shu assessed the latch, pulled a multi-tool, and pried. The bar lifted 0.5 centimeter, pea shear strength, and stuck again. Inside, the cell's internal fan ramped to jet whine. Automatic safety flagged an overtemp. The unit prepared to vent superheated gas straight through its top vent, right where Bookworm's little fingers drummed. Reena kicked the gate, hurting her ankle. She switched tactics. "Bookworm, copy me, hands on helmet." She clasped her head. Babies love mimicry. He copied, releasing the Allen key. The cell's diagnostics timed out, fan winding down. Strobe slowed to a lazy pulse. Shu finally cracked the latch, the gate swung. Reena lunged, scooped Bookworm, and rolled away as the cell hiccuped one last hot sigh. LED faded to peaceful amber. Silence, except for the distant thud of her racing heart. Bookworm patted her cheek. Fixed rock, now it happy. Overhead, the drone captured every second for the evening news cycle titled "Toddler Technicians, Are They Our Future?" Segment 8, debrief again. Colonel Eng scrolled through fresh footage. "Peas is locking compound. That's innovative." Lorraine stood at parade rest, Bookworm on her hip, vest pockets emptied and zip-tied shut. "Request permission to install tamper-proof meal lids, Colonel." Granted. and we're moving the power cell to the museum stack today before he decides to overclock it. Nying leaned forward. On the bright side, recruitment office reports a 30% spike in applications since the drone feed went public. Seems people like the idea of a workplace where babies innovate. Lorraine sighed. Yes, sir, we aim to please, preferably without additional hazmat calls. Nying slid a small box across the desk. Inside, cloth badges shaped like tiny wrenches. Unit coin for good behavior. He earns 5, we film a ceremony, media loves it, we all go home early. Bookworm grabbed one, tried to eat it, decided against, and stuck it on Mama's collar instead. You earn, he said solemnly. Ing chuckled. Diplomatic already. Dismissed. Outside, Lorraine set him down and pointed to a new yellow square taped on the hangar floor. Future Crew Chief Play Zone, boundary tested. Inside sat a brand new plastic toolbox filled with soft items only, stuffed spanner, plush bolt, crinkle flag. Bookworm opened the lid, eyes round. Tools. Correct. These tools can't crash gravity, flood corridors, or overheat cells. They can, however, fix boring afternoons. Deal? He hugged the stuffed spanner. Deal, maybe? Across the bay, technicians watched the live feed on a bulkhead monitor. Every so often one would mime wiping sweat from their brow. Relief, or maybe anticipation. Because every adult at Fort Peterson knew tomorrow would bring fresh adventures. Shorter maybe, safer maybe, but never dull, as long as the tiniest mechanic on Microtech still believed the universe was just one big fixer-upper, waiting for its next coat of polish. And somewhere in the drifts outside, Microtech's snow kept falling, soft, patient, and ready to record whatever footprints came next. Segment 9, 10-min read, 15:30 hours. The snowstorm outside had thickened into swirling static. Inside Bay 12 the lights dialed to evening amber. Bookworm, now outlaw soft tools only, sat cross-legged in his yellow square surrounded by plush hardware. He'd arranged them in a perfect line. Stuffed spanner, crinkle ratchet, felt washer, plush bolt. He stared at them, lower lip jutting. They didn't clank, they didn't smell of lemon putty or hyperfuel, they were boring. Across the deck, Mama knelt beneath a Gladius fighter, torquing a plasma feed flange. Every twist of her wrench sang a metallic click that echoed straight into Bookworm's bones. Click, click, click. He stood, soft spanner dangling like a teddy bear. One step over the yellow line, then another. The boundary tape peeled under his sneaker and rolled up like a party streamer. Freedom. He tiptoed toward Mama's work cart, past drowsy techs sipping chicory. No one looked. Grown-ups always assume treaties hold. At the cart he found the real stuff. A mag wrench, a roll of 50-star safety tape, and Mama's actual tool belt coiled on a lower shelf. The belt gleamed under strip lights, each pouch heavy with mystery. He glanced back. Mama's boots stuck out from under the Gladius, only visible from ankles down. Safe. He threaded tiny arms through the belt's padded waist. Leather swallowed him to the knees, buckle clattered like a cowbell. He cinched it best he could, grabbed the mag wrench, heavier than a bowling ball on this gravity deck, and dragged it toward the fighter. Click. Click. Mama's rhythm never faltered. Bookworm crouched at the nose gear and patted the mag wrench on the deck. It stuck. Good. He unrolled a long ribbon of safety tape and began decorating the nose cone, spelling abstract baby runes, loops, drools, and one confident zigzag that looked exactly like a lightning bolt. Each press of tape sang a crisp snap. Snap, snap. He worked faster, orbiting the fighter, tape spooling behind like a comet tail. Under the fuselage, Lorraine slid out, wiping hydraulic gel from her gloves. She spotted towing hazard tape at eye level, zigzagging across her cockpit. She followed the glittering trail down to a pair of small sneakers protruding beneath the nose. She recognized the buckle jingle before she saw the face. Bookworm, you're out of bounds again, Chief. He popped up, hair electrified from tape static. Need more stars, ship not safe yet. Around them, techs turned to watch the inevitable negotiation. Lorraine folded arms. Boundary rules exist so you don't get squashed. You crossed the line. Bookworm pointed at the mag wrench anchored to the deck. Tool stuck, ship stay put, very safe. A couple of mechanics chuckled. Lorraine fought her own smile. Positive intent noted. Still, sentence is retraction and apology to the tape. He saluted, attempted to retract tape by pulling, resulting in 1,000 little curls floating free in the hangar breeze of circulating fans. Silver confetti drifted over startled faces, caught in hair, stuck to oily coveralls. Someone groaned. Fud storm. Lorraine caught a strip on her cheek. Okay, new sentence. Community service. You help clean, then we find quieter quarters. Bookworm's shoulders sagged, the tool belt slid to the deck with a sad clank. Segment 10. 10-min read. Cleanup complete, confetti bins overflowing. Technicians awarded Bookworm a new nickname, Sparkles. He wasn't sure if it came with promotion or demotion, but the clapping sounded friendly. The mag wrench returned to the cart, tape roll confiscated. Bookworm's eyelids drooped. Adrenaline had carried him since dawn, but the hangar lights now felt warm, voices softer, clicks slower. Lorraine knelt, unbuckled her belt from his waist, and coiled it properly. Tools need sleep too, she whispered. He yawned cavernously. Tools tired? Exhausted, and so are certain junior crew chiefs. She lifted him. He weighed twice as much when sleepy, all loose limbs and heavy head. He nestled into the crook of her neck, breathing grease and lemon memories. They walked the long corridor back to quarters. Snow still danced outside viewports, but inside the heating vents hummed lullaby level. At the crib she sat him on the edge, removed his tiny boots and slipped off the diaper cape, now limp and misshapen. He reached for the paper party hat on the nightstand. It had been flattened twice, recreased, taped, yet still resembled a tiger. He handed it to her. Hang up. She punched a tiny hole in the brim, threaded a ribbon, and looped it over the mobile pole above the crib. The hat spun slowly, casting orange shadows in the low light. Bookworm's eyes followed, lid sinking. Lorraine laid him down, pulled the blanket to his chin. Mission report: 1 fuel slud polished, 1 corridor mopped by robot, 1 grav generator retuned, 1 power cell rocked, 1 fighter sparkle bombed. Not bad for 24 hours, he mumbled, adulting hard. Copy that, Nap approved. She kissed his forehead, dimmed the lights to quarter brightness, and left the door ajar. From the crib, Bookworm watched the paper hat sway, a soft orange moon against the stars of his mobile. Each gentle spin whispered stories of wrenches and tape, of shiny slugs and humming decks. His fingers uncurled, his breathing deepened. The storm outside faded to white silence. Fort Peterson kept its vigil, but for one small mechanic, the universe had finally clicked into quiet. Tomorrow would bring new projects, new boundaries, and brand new definitions of help. But right now, tools slept, hangar lights cooled, and baby Bookworm, professional adult in training, dreamed of quieter clanks, gentler stars, and a certain mag wrench that still winked at him from across the hangar, promising next time.